What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video. Now today we'll be going over TOEFL independent speaking questions, so the task 1 and task 2 speaking questions. Please take out your notebooks, grab your writing utensils, and get ready to take some fantastic notes. Now that's the first question we'll be going over today. It's task 1. Let's look at the question together. Okay, so the question says, should students be required to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester? Now, this is a yes or no question, so the beginning sentence will be, in my point of view, the advantages or disadvantages of something are clear as day. Now, since I'm going to say yes to this question, I'm only going to mention the advantages in the beginning sentence without mentioning the disadvantages, all right? So, on the other hand, if you decided to say no to this type of question, you would only say, in my point of view, the disadvantages of blah, blah, blah are clear as day. Do you understand? It's really simple. Just don't forget about which word you're going to be mentioning for yes and no, and you'll be good to go. All right, so the beginning sentence for this question, in my opinion, is, in my point of view, the advantages of, look at the question, requiring students to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester are clear as day. Now, that little sentence that I just said might look and sound like a mouthful, because it honestly is, but it's all in the question, okay? You just have to paraphrase the question just so slightly, all right? So don't forget to look at the question whenever you're organizing the beginning sentence of your response. Okay, now that we're done with the beginning sentence, let's go over to the reasons and details. From this point onward, we only have to come up with 4 sentences, 2 of them being the reasons and the other 2 being the details, okay? But the reason sentences are always going to be very, very simple. Subject, be verb, adjective. So let's take care of the reasons first, okay? So for the first reason, I'm going to say that student evaluations are tremendously helpful, okay? So student evaluations was the subject, are is obviously the be verb, and tremendously helpful would be the adjective part, okay? Now, for the second reason, I'm going to say student evaluations, so the subject doesn't change. Student evaluations are also very informative, okay? So are doesn't change. I'm adding the word also because it's the second reason, and for the second reason's adjective, I decided to use informative, okay? So those are the 2 reasons. Now, for the first detail about helpful, I'm going to talk about how professors will be able to understand what their students liked or disliked throughout the semester by reading these assessments, okay? So it's going to be helpful. Now, for the second detail, which is about informative, I'm going to talk about how since these evaluations are usually done anonymously, students will be able to write what they feel without feeling any pressure whatsoever. So that's basically what I'm going to say for the second detail. Now that we understand what I'm going to say, let's listen to my sample response. In my point of view, the advantages of requiring students to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester are clear as day. First of all, thanks to the experiences I've had, I've realized that student evaluations are tremendously helpful. I believe this to be true mainly due to the fact that professors are able to see what their students liked or disliked through these assessments, which will let them improve their lesson plans for the future. On top of this, student evaluations are also really informative. In my perspective, this remains true to me since students can write whatever they feel without being pressured, as these assessments are usually done anonymously. Okay, now, after I was done saying the second detail, I looked at the clock and noticed that I only had about 4 seconds left. Now, as I've said before, if you find out that you have fewer than 5 seconds left after you're done saying the second reason, don't say the ending sentence, okay? Now, just in case some of you guys are faster speakers than me, which by the way is kind of concerning, but just in case you guys had a lot of time left, for this type of question, you should have said, therefore, these were the pros of requiring students to evaluate their professors at the end of the semester, okay? That's what your ending sentence would have been if you had more than 5 seconds left, all right? So, if you said no to these questions, the ending sentence would have been, therefore, these were the cons of blah, blah, blah. Okay? All right, now let's move on to task 2. All right, that's the task 2 question that I want to cover in today's video, so let's look at it together. Please start organizing your beginning sentence as soon as you start reading along, or even do it right now. Okay, task 2. If universities want to offer financial support to students, where do you think it should go? To advanced students or to those having financial problems? Now, for this question, I'm going to say to those having financial problems. So the beginning sentence is, if I really had to make a choice between offering financial support to advanced students and those having financial problems, I would honestly prefer the latter. Okay? So the beginning sentence is relatively simple. Please don't forget to look at the question as you're organizing or saying that sentence. Please, pretty please. Okay, now let's go ahead and organize those 4 basic and simple sentences. 2 for the reason and 2 for the details. Okay, now for this question, I'm going to say providing funds to students in need is integral for the first reason. Okay, so that's the first reason. So this time, we're not going to use the adjective beneficial because important, significant, crucial, imperative, integral, necessary, those are all better words, okay? All right, now for the second reason, I'm going to say funding advanced students can be considered unnecessary, okay? So I'm not going to say is unnecessary because that's too strong. So I'm going to change that to can be considered unnecessary, okay? Now, for the first detail, I'm going to talk about the truth. Going to university is indispensable in the 21st century, and funding students who have financial difficulties will let them do that. That's pretty important. Now, for the second detail, I'm going to talk about how intelligent or advanced students are more than capable of receiving scholarships or grants on their own, okay? So from like other institutions or companies, that's more possible for them than for students who have financial problems, okay? All right, now that we know what I'm going to say, let's listen to my sample response. If I really had to make a choice between offering financial support to advanced students and those having financial problems, I would honestly prefer the latter. To begin with, the first thing that came to my mind as I read this question is that providing funds to students in need is integral. This is mainly due to the fact that doing so will enable them to continue attending university, which is indispensable in today's world. In addition, another reason that supports my opinion is that funding advanced students can be considered unnecessary. This notion makes perfect sense to me since these students are more than capable of receiving scholarships or grants because of their outstanding grades. All right, so after my second detail ended, we're seeing a trend here. I only had about 4 seconds left, so I didn't need to say the ending sentence. All right, don't feel bad about that whenever that does happen, okay? However, the ideal position to be in after your second detail ends would be to have roughly 7 seconds left, okay? Not just because 7 happens to be my favorite number, but 7 seconds not only lets you say the ending sentence no matter how long it is, but it also lets you kind of have a peace of mind because you're gonna feel better about your response once you were able to say the ending sentence, right? It's kind of unreasonable, but psychologically, you're gonna feel better about yourself when you do that. So I would say that having approximately 7 seconds after the second detail is ideal, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, that just about wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed the questions and the sample responses, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you still have not done so. Now, Christmas is already old news. We're done exchanging presents with our close friends and family members, which means that 2018 is just about over and we're about to start 2019. It's literally weeks away, okay? Now, 2018 has been a very, very special year for me because I came back to the States and I started this YouTube channel to reach as many students as possible who are not able to access the educational resources that they need to obtain the scores that they want. So if you happen to be one of those students who still has that enormous gorilla on your back that's called the TOEFL weighing you down, making you hunch your shoulder, contact me about my tutoring services. I've seen students get the score that they want in a matter of months. And but there's a disclaimer here, guys. Those students are extremely self-disciplined and diligent students who cross out all their T's and dot every single one of their I's, okay? So what I mean is they pay attention to the details, they do their due diligence, they practice properly, and they ask all of the appropriate questions, okay? Now, you might be thinking to yourselves, oh, if I'm self-disciplined, if I'm diligent, if I pay attention to the details and I ask all the appropriate questions, then what's preventing me from getting the score that I want? And I'm sure that hundreds of you, thousands of you are asking yourself that exact question. Now, what's missing in that formula is the proper guidance, okay? Now, I can provide you with the proper guidance as long as you truly want to make an investment, whether it's financial or time. Make that investment so that you're able to obtain the score that you want more quickly, okay? And more efficiently, let's be honest. So guys, if you want 2019, early, mid, or late 2019 to be the time that you're done with the TOEFL exam, please reach out to me about my tutoring services. All right, the next video will be covering task 3 and task 5. So if those questions are giving you a lot of difficulties, please stay tuned and be sure to check out the next video. Peace out, guys.